Welcome to Current Density with Jayden, where we explore the intersection of urban planning, social issue, and the future of transportation. I'm Charlie. In today's episode, we are diving deep into a topic that's shaping cities around the world, the gentrification dilemma, how transportation can either help or harm communities. Together with Jayden, a future urban planner and transportation enthusiast, we'll discuss how projects like new subway lines, bike lanes, and transit system can change the fabric of neighborhoods, potentially pushing out long-time residents while attracting wealthier newcomers. Stay tuned for a thought-provoking conversation and the role of transportation in urban gentrification and its impact on communities. Let's start with the first question, Jayden. What do you think is the relationship between new transportation projects like subway lines or bike lanes and the rising costs of living in nearby neighborhoods?
Yeah, so these types of new transportation projects or infrastructure, they can serve as a double-edged sword for local communities. Mm-hmm. While they can improve connectivity and accessibility to other places, they can also mainly lead to a rise in property values, which in turn increases the cost of living. For example, like areas near new subway lines or new trams or transportation, they tend to attract higher income individuals who seek the convenience of being close to public transit, resulting in sort of like rent hikes and higher property prices. This process, which we call gentrification, can push longtime residents out of the neighborhood, as they can no longer afford the increasingly expensive cost of living.
That's a great point about how transportation projects can drive up the cost of living. But this isn't just a theoretical issue. It's happening in cities around the world. So can you think of any real world examples where public transportation projects have either helped or harmed communities?
Yeah, so a well-known example is the Expo line in Vancouver, which connected the city center to its suburbs. It made commuting easier for many, and it also attracted a lot of investment into the greater Vancouver area. However, it also contributed to rising rents in neighborhoods near like Mount Pleasant and Commercial Drive. In these areas, gentrification was accelerated with long-time and like often lower income residents being displaced by newcomers who could afford the higher rents. On the flip side, areas with less direct investment in new infrastructure, like certain parts of East Vancouver, have seen fewer property value increases, although in these days, residents still face affordability challenges.
Those examples really show how transportation projects can transform neighborhoods. But beyond just economic effects, they also change the character of a place. So how do you think these projects impact the identity and culture of a neighborhood?
Yeah, so transportation projects can, I think, significantly alter the cultural fabric of a neighborhood by attracting different demographic groups. As new transportation options like, say, bike lanes or subway systems bring in more people from various socioeconomic backgrounds, longtime residents may feel their original community's character being like diluted or being replaced. For an example, like a formerly working class area might begin to cater more to affluent professionals. Gradually, they can change the type of businesses, community events, or like cultural practices that once defined the area. In other cases, this can create tension between the old and new residents who might feel that their neighborhood's identity is actually, slipping away.
So, as transportation infrastructure shifts neighborhood's identity, it also raises a difficult question. Should these projects prioritize lower income communities, even if they might accelerate gentrification?
Yeah, I do believe transportation projects should prioritize accessibility for lower income communities, even though this might accelerate the process of gentrification. Public transit, I think, is becoming a more vital resource that improves opportunities for education, employment, and overall social mobility. Lower income communities should not be excluded from these benefits just because they live in areas that might be susceptible to gentrification. However, it's crucial that policymakers they should actively work to mitigate the negative impacts of gentrification, such as ensuring affordable housing policies and providing support for any people that may have been displaced due to the rising costs.
That's a really important debate. Transportation should serve those who need it most, but it can also contribute to displacement. This brings us to another key factor. What role do developers and city planners play in ensuring that transportation benefits both long-time residents and newcomers?
Developers and city planners play a critical role in ensuring that transportation infrastructure benefits everyone. Ideally, they should try to adopt equitable planning practices that prioritize the needs of both new residents and longtime community members. This might include creating mixed income housing, subsidies, and building social amenities like parks and community centers. By working together with community organizations, developers can create spaces where both new and old residents feel welcome and they can thrive together without the negative effects of gentrification overwhelming the area.
So it sounds like developers and planners have a lot of influence in shaping how a neighborhood evolves. But what concrete steps can be taken to prevent displacement when new transportation projects are introduced?
Yeah, so to prevent displacement, cities can implement policies like rent control, affordable housing quotas, and property tax caps on homes to help protect existing residents from the pressure of rising costs. Additionally, you have community land trusts, which allow neighborhoods to collectively own and control the land that they live on, and that can help prevent private developers from displacing people through their own practices. Furthermore, cities can also provide incentives for developers to include affordable housing in new projects, so that kind of ensures that the benefits of transportation projects are distributed more equally across the community.
So policies like rent control and affordable housing can help stabilize communities. But beyond the financial aspect, gentrification also affects relationships between neighbors. How do you think it impacts social connections in a community?
Yeah, so gentrification can lead to a breakdown in community relationships, especially when those longtime residents could be displaced. When people who have lived in a neighborhood for years and generations are pushed out due to rising rents, obviously that can create feelings of loss or resentment. In some cases, newcomers may not be aware of the history or that culture of the area that existed before their arrival, and that can also lead to social tensions. However, when managed inclusively, gentrification can also bring diverse groups together. And that can also foster new opportunities for cross-cultural interactions and a mutual agreement.
So that's a really interesting perspective. Gentrification isn't just about housing. It's also about the social fabric of a neighborhood. But does the introduction of public transit always lead to gentrification, or are there cases where it benefits everyone without displacing residents?
I don't think that's not the case every time. Gentrification is a bit like more broad than just what kind of transportation infrastructure you have in your area. You introduce bike lanes, walking paths, and public transit systems, and it can definitely increase the attractiveness of that neighborhood to higher income residents, but it doesn't always result in, the major effects of like gentrification. In some cases, transportation infrastructure can help revitalize an area without necessarily, making a huge shift within the community's residents. For example, bike lanes and pedestrian-friendly spaces might help improve the overall quality of life for all the residents by making neighborhoods safer and more accessible. However, without accompanying policies to maintain affordability, these improvements can increase property values and attract wealthier residents, and that is a case where it could lead to gentrification. So it depends on what the general, policy-wise and other factors, rather than just the infrastructure itself.
That's a great point. Transportation improvements don't automatically mean displacement, but they often do. So what policies could city implement to balance development with the needs of long-time residents?
Yeah, so cities can adopt several policies to strike a balance between transportation development or like any other type of like urban infrastructure development, and doing that and also protecting long-standing residents. One potential solution would be the, as I mentioned, affordable housing units in new developments near like transit hubs. Cities could also prioritize public transit investments that serve low-income neighborhoods and introduce sort of like anti-displacement measures early on in planning stages. So, and that they can ensure that meets the needs and concerns of long-time residents before development actually begins. So I think in Greater Vancouver, there's a couple of, I believe, Indian reserves. Like I know there's a plot of land like right near Landscape Bridge on the North Shore that there's a bunch of housing to make sure that like Indigenous people who were there before we urbanized that area, they still have a place to live, and yeah, there's a whole community, and there's different plots of those kinds of like reserve areas, I think, across the city and across Canada. So that might be that's like an example of like not totally pushing them out and forcing, the people who were originally there to like pushing them like to forcefully assimilate into like the new society.
So cities need strong policies to make sure transportation improvements don't push people out. But beyond the policy, community involvement is also crucial. So how can residents actively participate in planning of transportation system to ensure their voices are heard?
Communities can participate in transportation planning by attending public meetings, providing feedback on proposed projects, and sort of organizing advocacy groups to ensure that their concerns are taken seriously. So it's also crucial for planners to engage with the local residents, right? Especially in low-income areas, and sort of like incorporate them in the decision-making process from the beginning where they plan everything out by facilitating open dialogues and offering community-driven like alternatives to development and ensuring that affordable housing and other protections are built into new plans, and that can help communities safeguard their interests while still benefiting from the improvements of what urban infrastructure and like transportation systems can bring. I've noticed like for like each new city that I visit to, there are places where like you can really see the contrast between like the urbanized new type of modern sleek like that kind of neighborhood and the one that still hasn't gotten out of like the past couple of decades, right? San Francisco, I recently traveled there. A couple of blocks difference can really like shift the entire like vibe of the neighborhood. So I really felt that when I was traveling to like many American cities.
So it's just similar to Harlem in New York, right? Or Hong Kong, the downtown Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Have you been to Hong Kong?
No,
downtown?
No.
So I went to Chim Sa Tsui, where is the most one of the biggest shopping center around the world, and then just across the street of the big shopping center, it looks like a Harlem, like a slum. So it's kind of how can it be possible? Like just across the street, like real modernized, and this area is like 30 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't really understand.
Maybe. Yeah, like sometimes people like communities refuse to get their land like developed, sort of, because of like immediate needs that they have. Where will I live like tomorrow, right? Sometimes you can't. You just have to stay in your place just to survive. I see that a lot with actually on a smaller scale, right? We've been talking about large scale like city kind of stuff. In South Korea, there's like a lot of apartments, right? Most people in the city live in apartments, and a lot of the apartments are getting old, like 50, 60 years, and then so the city and like the developers want to demolish and rebuild those apartments to a more modern feel.
Like it's kind of reinvestment.
Yeah. And there's a lot of dispute before the construction begins, right? There's a lot of dispute with the residents because a lot of them, that's their only home and they really don't have anywhere else to go to. And the people who run businesses in that apartment complex, there's a lot of arguments and there has to be a lot of like negotiations and settlements with each and every like one of those people to actually start to rebuild those buildings. So I think that's a tough process as well. And in Vancouver, so like West Vancouver, right? It's one of like the most expensive cities to live in. I just have a feeling that like public transportation systems might not be a huge appeal to like most wealthy people because I guess there's this like sort of assumption that if you let like mass public transit, like why don't they make a SkyTrain going to West Vancouver? It will like kind of like not like quote ruin the community because like there's a lot of people coming back and forth, and sort of like most of the rich communities and wealthy communities, they like to have like a walled garden, right? They want to stay inside their own little bubble and not have like many outsiders coming in and out. So I think maybe some wealthy people might not appreciate public transport coming into their town because they have cars to drive around. So yeah.
But I just want to ask you about is testing the street. There's a lot of homelessness and peoples right there, but it just looked like a demolished, the city.
Yeah, even in downtown Vancouver.
And I can see there is a, public library. There is a police station. There's a lot of, stores around there.
Yeah.
But is there any scheme or program or game plan that we can tackle that situation?
Yeah, so for what I know, like most of the homeless people are there because there's like food banks there. And there's like people going around and sort of like handing out food.
For free?
Yeah. So they kind of like stay there and like stay there for that kind of services. I don't know, most of the buildings, like I only saw it briefly when I was like riding a bus through Hastings. They look kind of like, most of them look like old and abandoned. I don't know if the city of Vancouver is like planning to like rebuild that area anytime soon, but it would mean that if they decided to rebuild, then those people will have to be relocated to like some like better service programs, I hope, right? Maybe there's shelters or like rehabilitation programs that can help them recover. Yeah.
But the thing is, which area would take them for, even though if it is temporarily, which area would take them, right? That's the question.
Yeah.
So as one of the self-employed person, it's really hard to imagine that you run the business within that kind of situation. So
there's,
I feel like the city of Vancouver might neglect that.
Maybe. I don't know. So like in like a lot of most like major cities, right? There is to some extent problems with residential.
That's so
things.
weird.
Yeah. I guess like Canada and Vancouver especially, the rent prices and the housing prices are going up and up and up. So I do see a couple of like shelters or like service programs, especially like crowded near that Hastings area. Yeah.
Okay, so it's really tricky.
Yeah, it is a tricky problem because you need to find a sustainable solution that takes into account their situations and what the city wants.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So you need to consider it both sides.
Yeah.
So that is really tricky.
I guess that's like that's the case for like most of the social issues. That's core. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's the 10 question I prepared for this episode. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Current Density with Jayden. So we hope today's discussion helped shed light on the complexities of transportation planning and its social consequences. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join us for more episodes where we continue to explore the world of urban design, social equity, and future of our cities. So until next time, keep thinking
critically and about how the world around us is shaping our communities.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.